whatever milestones that Black people make against hate, it ends up benefiting all the other people of color. I can't see what his end game is. The Republican Party is the party of racism, is the party of white supremacy, is the party of hate. This is wrong, and it needs to stop.
Everybody wants to go back and drag that piece of history up, but they don't want to go back and deal with what their ancestors did to the indigenous people and to Black people in this country. You got to go. You got to go. And you got billionaires talking about going to space, and Jeff Bezos, go. Never come back. I hope you get lost. This man has lost his mind.
Come on, girlfriend. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, and 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. As always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And I also want to say that I co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And as part of that collaboration, last year was part of a team that reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 fathers around the world. We are doing fine. We are doing great. The weather here in Toronto is okay, but in at least one of the people, Aisha, is not having the best time with weather, but she's with us tonight. Unfortunately, Lala cannot be with us tonight because we think she's in Florida. We don't know if she's in Florida, but she messaged me a little while back saying the lightning hit a transformer in the area that she is staying at, so she will not be with us tonight. But let's bring the California heat and the Connecticut storm to our airwaves tonight.
Oh, it's
called State of Things with Aisha and Jill. What is going on, lady? How is the weather wherever you are?
Oof. It's cloudy today, lot cooler. We're at least 30 degrees cooler, so that's pretty good. Maybe 20 degrees. But yeah, it's nice. It's better. It's just humid. That's all.
Yeah, it's just cloudy here today, but we've been having issues with electricity the last couple of days, so in and out. But
I mean, for us, it was really crazy because we had Hurricane K coming up through Mexico, which in all my years of living here, we've never had a hurricane ever. So, global warming, global change is happening. Climate change is definitely in rare form. It's like, I don't know whether to put my things away for that. Normally I start packing up and putting my things away for a fall, bringing out different. I just don't think that I can do that. I just don't know. It could be snowing here tomorrow for all I know.
Oh, when was the last time you had snow, Jill? When was that time you saw
snow? Last year on the 5 freeway. Yeah, going up towards the mountains. Yeah, going through the Grapevine. Yeah, we've had some in Valencia, California, which is not that far from my house.
No, it's not.
So we are seeing some really crazy things ravaging, our state. And but the humidity you can see from my hair.
Yeah, it's bad. Like even here, it's like still like in the 89s and 90s, and it should just be like in the 70s by this point in the year. It's really crazy. And I live in a very unique place because like I can see my hometown where my mom lives from my balcony, and it will be storming here and raining here and just wind. And over there, it's like the sun's over there. And that's like literally 5 minutes away, right? And so, yeah, so I live like in a valley, and so there's like a lot of little, like it'll storm here and no place else in the state.
That's true here too. Last night, people were getting all this rain, and I was like, "There's nothing here." And then finally, it rolled by. But to me, it's not really rain. We needed more rain.
Yeah, so do we.
But what can you do? This is it. It's just happening, and you just got to stay tuned, I suppose. I mean, and that's kind of it. You just have to stay tuned. Because up north, like in Northern California, it got up to 116 just in Sacramento. So
Yeah,
it's
I
been
saw that.
boiling. And here it's been 108, easy 110. So yeah, easily. I guess everybody else across the who's watching tonight, you know, they're all experiencing it. I was going to do this PSA for Wig Maniac. She's got a idea about flipping our wigs, and I love this campaign idea, and I want to do it. But I was like, damn, I cannot get near a wig at the moment. It's bad enough having my own hair. I wanted to just. It's really. I wish I could flip this. Um,
Oh gosh.
and then also, like, I think they make it so your air conditioner doesn't work that strong in places. I really
Mm.
believe they cut the grid down to like halftime or something because
They're
our,
gonna turn ours off like in
yeah,
about
of
2 weeks.
course. I know
Our
that
apartment
grid.
complex.
Yeah,
Our
I've been on
apartment
that
complex will
grid.
turn it off, and it's bad. It's like it's gonna be really hot for a while. Like last year, it was hot throughout all of October, and they turned off the air, and it was just so hot.
Ours used to
Wow.
be like, people were saying, oh, but September's always. One thing I follow, like kind of religiously, is the Farmer's Almanac. I find
Yeah,
that it's very
Mm.
accurate. It never fails me. It can tell you that where the climate change things are happening without just, it's just their predictions. It's just what it's based upon their, agricultural science. And really, we would have a few spotty hot days in September, but not like a full almost 2 week period. And October would generally be our hottest. So I'm a little bit concerned about October rolling through.
yeah, because it was messy
Mm.
here last year. It was so hot, and then the
Mhm.
rain that we have been getting, it's like it's like these flash storms.
Yeah.
Like it'll rain for like maybe an hour, and then almost as soon as it's over, it's like dry because it's so hot outside.
Cool.
Whew.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah. All right. So let's get things started with weather.
Yeah,
Of course, Jen says hello. Hope we're doing well. Wigmaniac says yes, cooling off on the East Coast. Jen
hmm
also says we are cooler here in Cleveland, thank goodness. Tamara, I agree with that. Every time the temperatures rise, I'm from Texas. My AC has problems. I don't think that's a coincidence.
true. Yeah, I
yeah.
Maybe you're
Texas
agree.
has
on
got
to
its own
something.
grid, right?
Maybe we're on. Maybe the Big Brother is really controlling us even more.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think
Texas is
so.
on its own grid, so Texas has even bigger problems.
Yes.
That's true.
Yes.
They have a different kind of grid, and we have very serious problems because don't forget, PG&E have started how many fires here, and they started that horrible
Yeah,
fire.
Yes.
So PG&E
Yes.
is just savage. They should have like gotten rid of that old fucking. Oh, sorry,
No,
that
it's all right.
company.
It's no. Well, hold on. You apologizing? My gosh, what's
Well,
wrong?
I'm
You're
gonna
not
watch
feeling
it
well?
because it takes a long time for editing. So I've
No, it
decided I'm
doesn't.
going
It
to.
doesn't that bad. Don't worry. Hey, I'm doing the editing, so rest yourself.
I know,
That's
I
all
know.
right. But no, but getting back to that electrical company, that how is that company still in existence?
Because it's a sham, it's corruption, it's there's too many big wigs, not who don't live in California. It's everybody who has bought stock in PG&E. You're all guilty of why this company is still here.
Yeah,
um,
because I remember
that
listening.
is something I'm on to right now. I'm on to accountability and putting your money where your mouth is. So if you have stock with PG&E, you are the reason it's still going, and you are the
Yeah.
reason that the corruption is still in existence, because it didn't mean anything to you when people were incinerated in within, what was it, 5 minutes, really.
Yeah,
mm,
They couldn't get out of
that's
the
a
trailer of the
whole
whole
conversation
town.
itself.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
that's I don't get involved in your conversation, but that is
Yeah,
really disturbing to me. What went on with that
it's
yeah,
company and how
horrible,
it's still in existence.
horrific.
mm.
That there's a lot of shady stuff going on in regards to that company, and it isn't just recently. It's had a history.
Yeah, this isn't even the first time that it's happened. It's disgusting.
Mm.
That's the one thing Newsom
Yeah.
should have dealt with. But I feel like it's a cabal of, America has its little pockets of cabals that are really inside of our infrastructure and inside of our government at higher levels. I mean, don't forget, Donald Rumsfeld was in charge of a couple of Agent Orange was really he was on the board for Saccharin. Saccharin got changed to another name, Sweet and Low. I mean, so
yes.
so they're all there, you know.
You know, it'd be a beautiful thing if we grow this so big, we can start doing our own investigative journalism stories and just sharing it with our community. That would be
It
like
would
a
be
dream.
great unless
I'd be
you
a
want us to,
dream. That would be one of my
please.
dreams. Like have each one of us do like host like a 1 hour conversation each week, and one of us does an investigate. You know what? That something that's something we should take this off.
Take it on the road.
Well, not on the road, but just even research wise, take some of these stories and let's delve deeper and just see what people are saying and bring it to the audience.
Well, it's good to follow up with what actually happened with X, Y, and Z too. You go, what happened? It's like we know that there's so many dire things that have been going on locally in states that have not been addressed. Water issues mainly are some of the biggest ones, and that's a whole going down another rabbit hole because that's going to only get worse.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's we'll take that offline, family, but just put it out to the family whether you're watching live on the replay. Would you like us to do special conversations about certain? You could send them to us. We'll do some research. Obviously, we don't have the money or the resources to go out and do out in the field, but let's do some investigating online and just bring it to you where it stands. I think there's an idea there.
Yeah.
I think there's because Jill and Aisha are very, very good journalists. Very, very very good journalists. And they're only going to give it to you straight from the heart and straight from the hip. So I
don't lately, I just did an interview with somebody and I've come up against this issue of when you're the journalist, not really liking.
That's a whole other thing. You know what? Sorry to interrupt, but especially here in Canada, more and more people are saying, you know what? Journalists are being threatened. They want protection of journalists as much as politicians.
Remember Karen Silkwood, she wasn't even a journalist. She was a person who just worked in this plant, and they killed her.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot. There's a lot at stake when you start exposing some of these things, and it's really just shocking to me how people don't seem to really. The majority, they don't care. They think they do, but they don't care enough to change their behaviors.
No, we have a lot of yellow journalism, like with people because the atmosphere is so contentious right now. You have people that just go along with certain stories, knowing that they have questions about them. They just go along with it, just to not rock the boat.
That's
you know what? I may reach out. I think I'm going to challenge it and reach out to Brian Stelter, who used to be a Reliable Sources, who got let go.
On CNN,
yeah.
And just I would love to get him on our conversation, just have him talk about, obviously he has a little bit extra time right now, just to see if he could. And also there's a lady that I sent you. She did a 2-minute video. Did you? Yeah. I'm going to reach out to her to see if she will come on. That was a great video.
Very much so.
I'm going to see if she could come on, and I'm going to say, hey, here's an example of what we do. We'd love you to come on if you even for one show. That would be great. All right, family, we do got things to talk about tonight. So, yeah, but you know what? We just want, and again, any suggestions y'all have, put them in the comments, or my contact information is available at the end. Please, we want to make sure we are serving y'all, whether it's live on the replay. So let's get to our first conversation. Pace. What else? The death of Queen Elizabeth. This has been very interesting conversation, especially on Black Twitter.
I don't really follow the royals that much, so I was kind of skeptical when they were first saying, "Oh, this doesn't look good." I'm like, are they just like softening the blow here? Because that's the feeling that I got, because when they said, "Oh, we have breaking news," I'm like, they're gonna say she's dead. This is kind of like how they kind of like, it reminded me of how they did Michael Jackson when Michael Jackson died. At first, it was kind of like, okay, he's in the hospital, he's having a heart attack, he's dead. Um, but I didn't really follow them so much, except for like when Princess Diana passed, and I think that was it. So this was like, um, she's 96. She lived a good long life, and there were things that I learned that I hadn't known, in terms of how long that she had been um queen, since her, what, mid
70
20s.
years.
Yeah,
Seven,
70
70
years. So
years.
that's like, that's a very, very long time. But I also, at the same token, I don't begrudge people who are living in colonized countries for having their viewpoints, because we basically live in a country that has been colonized by a lot of people, and who've treated various people here, um, to some disgusting degrees. So I think that, I kind of am just taking the approach where I'm just like listening to what everybody has to say, because I wasn't so engulfed in the royals.
Well, I think they're pretty important because, they just gave Prince William 160,000 acres, like once he became the duchy of Cornwall.
The tree. Yeah.
It's they're the for me was and they're the biggest landowners in the whole entire world. What is so interesting is that people seem to think they're not the richest people in the world. I happen to think that they are. I
Oh,
just
they
don't
are
think they
very
I don't but I don't think they share their stuff. I don't give a damn if it's on Forbes or it's not. They definitely have the wealth behind them.
big time.
I
Well, they
I
have
find
taxation behind them, as well. I mean, that's the one thing that we learned from our own history, is no
they have what?
taxation without representation. They have the taxation of all these other
Right.
countries, that they
Well,
own
that's the
behind them.
curious thing. We're going to watch and see how many want to end that. There are a few that
Yeah,
want. We know that Australia tried,
yeah.
and but it's so interesting when it comes down to a vote. You will be surprised how many people are not as left wing on this thing as one would think. There are people who love their monarchs, they love their king and queen, and they will not let them go. They do not give a shit how many whatever, because you've also have to understand how much money they bring in to the country just from their legacy on its own. So for me, it's been really interesting to watch the hypocrisy of people online. It's amazing to me that we are never going to move forward until we can look at ourselves, as the Bible says, look at our own plaque in our own eyes. We're so hell bent on pointing the finger, but we're spending so much time talking about imperialism and colonialism from back in the day. Do we say anything, Gen Z, about the fact that you bitches go out and can't like live a day without buying fast fashion, causing so much harm to the planet, so much harm to industry? Biggest consumers in the world are probably Gen Z. And I mean, what, people kill each other over sneakers. It's absolutely hypocritical to me. I can't take it. I don't understand it. I get that we're still moaning and whinging about slavery. I get it. I mean, okay, whatever. But are we exemplary human beings and without blame or fault that we're currently destroying our planet, our species, our seas, our oceans? You know, honestly, it's not something that that is big in sorry to say in the Black community. I rarely hear anybody talking about saving the oceans. Rarely. It's pretty fucking offensive to me. I mean, I really find that our level of involvement with saving our planet on climate change is this big, but we're going to spend a whole ton of time on talking about our ancestors who were sold, by the way, by African people. So as far as I'm concerned, when I went through, something changed in me this weekend. I think Africa owes African Americans money. They owe us reparations too. They severed our families. They made it where we can't function. They get to go to college off of like the endowments and all the queens and all the stuff that colonialism has created for them. So that the people in India, but we get shit. We get nothing but a bunch of dumb people who can't say mine without putting an S on the end of it. This is, I'm sorry to be so angry about it, but I am. Because when you sit up and have, there's a couple of people from Nigeria, there's 200 and over 250 kingdoms of monarchy of their own in Nigeria, Benin, Senegal, wherever. How did they get fucking rich? Please tell me. Off of my ancestors' backs, who they sold, and yours, and yours, and yours, and yours. So if we're all going to move past this, we all need to pull and put our dicks on the table and have a real conversation.
I mean, as far as
That's
the
my
black,
feeling.
well, as far as the black climate justice organizations, there are quite a few of them. The thing of it is that they do not get the press that the ones that are founded by white organizers. And I only know this because I work in the space Monday through Friday.
I hope
They
so.
really don't. They don't. I mean, I'm just telling you that's the fact, and that's being in the media part of the space of the climate justice space.
I can see
They
it with
don't
my
get,
neighbors. Hey, hang on a minute. I'm only going from my neighbors. I'm going from, I'll be honest here too. It's not a big deal here with the Armenian crowd either. It's just not. But people better freaking wake out. We are baking here. Are we going to make it to 2030?
and the issues are different depending on depending on the community. Like for example, on this coast in this area, the way that a lot of those organizations are working is through community farms and turning what do you call them? They have a name for them, but they're these little small plots of city land into farms or building or planting trees because those things can save. They're doing those things, and they're doing them not necessarily as a quote unquote collective either organization. They don't get the money to do them as collectives. When you look at a lot of these climate justice organizations that are high functioning, that get the press, you got to remember, a lot of those are started by corporations. A lot of them are started by the energy companies who were forced and sued into having to start those organizations to pay for
Oceana is a great organization, and I really find few people involved in it. I mean, my personal feelings are just at that level.
It's one, and there's like,
but I'm just saying common sense.
A million of them.
That's not even just it. We're talking about, certain things of the hypocrisy that went on this week with the Queen's death. It made me actually want to be a better person. Like even when Donald Trump kicks the bucket, I really don't want to be that person dancing on anybody's grave. I think it's absolutely, after witnessing it, I find it to be pretty abhorrent. I think I'm better than that. I think we all are. Because these so-called Christians,
I have nothing to say on that point.
Oh, people were horrible. Again, Black Twitter, Irish Twitter.
Okay,
Irish Twitter.
I just want, let me just jump in because I give an example here. There was a professor from Carnegie Mellon.
And I hope she gets fired.
Yes. And she had quite the tweet.
Horrible.
About.
What a mean person.
Yeah. So basically doubles down on
He
Queen's
went
death.
For her.
Yeah.
I got to give him a credit for it. He came for her, and I bet you he makes sure she loses her job. And she doubled down.
She won't.
She didn't even
she won't. She has the reason they can't fire her, and the reason that she felt comfortable for saying what she said is she has tenure. They will not fire her. They will actually face a bigger lawsuit in the end. But what I mean, here's my thing. I thought what she said. I thought what she said was
come here because she's an educated.
Let Aisha finish. Let Aisha finish.
I thought what she said was terrible. However, there were other people from other places, Ireland being one of them,
yes,
who were saying, saying other things that were either equally abhorrent and
Yep.
didn't get called out on Twitter. One.
Yes, they
Or
did.
two,
Yes, they did.
no, not to the degree that this professor has, and I'm not defending what she said.
That's not
I'm just
true.
saying,
Yes, they
yes,
did.
yes, it is. Have
The
you seen the
BBC
video?
and
Did you see the
ITV.
video?
Did you watch ITV or BBC? They were
I
talking
did,
about
but did you,
their life of what they
I,
were
I,
talking about.
I get that, but what I'm saying is that as far as people saying disgusting things, she was not the only one. She's the one that got the
But you're
most
trying to
press
say she had no,
because
she did. I disagree. She deserved it.
you,
She needed to be
I
dragged.
didn't say that I didn't say that she didn't deserve it. I said that she was not the only one. And
Of
and
course. But
we
you're
have to
saying
look
she
at what
was the only one. You're
no, I'm
saying
not.
she was
That's
the
not what I
only
said.
one that the
No, what I
powers that
said is
be
that
went
she's
for
gotten
her.
the most I said that she's gotten the most press because of it. I not that she was
In
the only
America,
one.
not
Yes,
in the rest of the world. Well,
yes,
whatever. I mean,
yes, in America.
but
I mean,
then they're talking about
have you been reading individual tweets underneath underneath her tweets? That's what I'm saying is like there are people with blue checks behind their names who said equally offensive things. And I think that we're going to call them out. Let's call them all out. I have no
no, I
problem with
don't
that.
agree with you. I think that people were. There was a whole show on ITV and the Britain Good Morning, whatever. They were talking about it. I mean,
Yeah,
this is the
but
thing.
here's
They're
the
not
thing.
going to.
But here's the thing. Mainstream America, like with mainstream America, is not talking about all those people. Mainstream America is talking about that one person.
But
And I
that's who
think that if we're
America
going to do
is.
that, but yeah, but
Hey,
if we're
if
going
Jeff
to do that,
Bezos comes for you, it tends to make news.
but
If he
but if we're
comes for you, and he did.
but the only reason he came for her is honestly is because she worked at Carnegie Mellon. Let's be clear. If she worked at USC
I'm sorry.
Berkeley,
People,
we
do you
wouldn't
know
have
how much money they
connections.
get from donations? Probably from his company. They probably won't get it
I
this
do know
year.
that, but I also know what professors make too.
Yeah,
So
but
to be
all I'm
honest,
saying is
it's like
if I donate to a university and I see that, I'm not giving you a donation next year. And I think
then
that's
then
basically what he
honestly,
just
I want
said.
all these people to stop donating to Yale right now because Yale's offering the city $140 million, making and they're about to make an $838 million building, build a building here that they will pay no tax on.
Oh,
It goes either way. Like I said, it's because of the university she's at. If she were at like
I don't think
University of
so with Jeff
Virginia,
Bezos. Jeff Bezos is from
it
okay.
would not have been as
I'm
that was
gonna
big.
a
jump.
visceral response.
I'm gonna jump in for a second, just to read what the professor said. She said,
Hmm.
"quote I heard the chief monarch of a thriving, raping, genocidal empire is finally dying." Unquote. She said, "quote May her pain be excruciating." Unquote. She also said that they said that her mother was born in Trinidad and her father is from Nigeria, according to NBC News.
Of course.
She told the publication her view on the Queen was largely shaped by the quote suffering of her parents unquote during the Nigerian Civil War, which came after the country was decolonized. Quote, in addition to the colonization on the side of Nigeria, there's also the human enslavement of the Caribbean, unquote, she told NBC News. Quote, so there's a direct lineage that I have, not just to people who were colonized, but people who were enslaved by the British.
Really? So let's just break that apart. First of all, I can't even open up my fucking emails without somebody asking me to save them from someplace in Nigeria. Number fucking one. Okay. Do I blame the world for it?
But a
Secondly,
whole baseball field sat there screaming death to the Queen and talking about her death being excruciating. It's on video. I mean, it's a whole
yeah,
baseball field
but
in Ireland.
can I just say something? I mean, it's their business. That's
Right,
England and
right,
Ireland.
and that's why
I
I
mean,
say
they
anyone
blew
who
up
lived in a
Lord
country.
Mountbatten.
That's why I
What?
say anyone who's lived in a country where they have been colonized. I do not.
Then
It's
maybe the
not for.
woman
It's
who
not for me.
works
It's
at an
not for me to
American
say.
school shouldn't be teaching in America. Maybe she should have kept her fucking mouth shut because that's the whole point. Don't bring your problems to us. I don't have your problem. Your ancestors owe mine money. You owe me money, bitch. Your
But most of
country
ours
owes
didn't
us
come from
money.
Nigeria. I mean,
Really?
that's the other side of that.
Really?
It's the truth. It's the truth. They most.
But wait a minute.
It's
It
the
doesn't
truth.
matter. Aisha, that's not the whole point here. Her lineage goes how long into Nigeria? We don't know. I'm from California, but I have a lineage that goes into Ohio. They could be
But
from
I'm sure that she knows
Nigeria
a lot better
traveling
than we
into
do.
Benin.
But I'm sure that
Whatever.
she knows a lot better than we do of our own, because ours
How can
deliberately was
you look at
taken.
a little old lady who's got the bruisings on that show cardiovascular like pain, and how could you ever sit up and say that about anybody? It's
I
fucking
don't know her life.
disgusting
That's
because
how somebody
the
can say it,
reality is
because
that most
I
people
don't
who
know her
do
life.
start having,
I
but
don't
most
I don't
people,
know her life. I can't say it.
all I'm saying is really, when was the Nigerian war? How old was she? She had a direct link. When? How old was she? What happened? Somehow her
No,
family
I
figured
said
out how
no.
to
That's
send
not
her
what I
to
said.
school.
But that's
Really?
not what I said, Joe.
But
I
how
said
many
that we don't
American
know
people
her.
have had
We don't know her lineage.
miss me with the Africans that have a hard life and they're all got PhDs and none of our people have shit. Fuck them. I'm so angry about this. Fuck her particularly, not the Africans. I just mean her. That's wrong. It's a bad reflection and it's disingenuous because all of a sudden she pulled in the Trinidadians and the this and the that to make a point, to get off of the topic, that you looked at somebody who clearly was having cardiovascular pulmonary type of things and you hope that, what kind of humanity are we to wish our worst enemies even to suffer? It's really gross. It's an awful thing. I mean, it's so horrible. Now, granted, if justice isn't served the way you want it to be, I get it, but you are supposed to be in a leadership position at a college, at a university. Leadership. That's the problem with our leaders today. They're not exhibiting any kind of leadership,
But no
even in
one
the
goes
face
into.
of it.
I don't think
No,
anyone
because
goes into
people,
a college or
people,
university saying, "I want to be in leadership." Let's be very clear. She's a professor. She's not in. She's not
she
really
has a
in a leadership.
platform of
She's in a
leadership. She
leadership
has
position.
tenure. She has something because the bitch can't be fired. So don't, whatever. Maybe I'm using the wrong word. I'm not as educated as these educated fools are. But I personally think that anybody taking young minds and having them sit there and then she pulls in her whole dilemma is not cool. And she makes everybody else who can see, this was how many years ago? How many? And where did she get her education? Off of whose dime? Who fucking paid for her to go to school since it was so tough for her world? We have it harder here. American Black people have it much harder. And it's time somebody fucking stands up for us because we're in the middle, sitting on the fence, always going, oh, but our
He
African
had,
ancestors.
but this is the part I don't understand, and this is my own view. To be perfectly honest, I don't really care what anybody says about any of this because it's not something that I've been focused on. However, like I said, I don't I don't necessarily appreciate 100% if black skinned people, black people who don't live in the United States try to tell us how racism and police brutality are here when they don't live here and they don't have the history that we are tied to here. It's this for me. It's the same. I can't. For example, um, Canada had ties to England a lot longer than the U.S. I don't think that we should speak for how Black Canadians feel about
But
it
nobody is.
because
We're
it's going to be
everybody's
different.
But
I
nobody's
like I
doing
said,
that. Our pocket of the universe is the fact that we were a part, my ancestors for sure, were a part of the slave trade. That we have tracked on my DNA of my ancestors coming from Benin and Congo and through Senegal and wherever. We have it tracked of what that migration pattern was, and they landed in Virginia. So whether they went all the way up to Liverpool and then had to get on another fucking ship, I don't know. But I can tell you the Queen wasn't alive at that moment. There have been some changes. I'm not saying I adore the royal family, and some things have been really are messed up, but we're also dealing in a country and in a world that overlooks the fact that some of the biggest families who have the most money in the world got it illegally too. The Kennedys, the let's go on. How many more? Nobody has ever gotten their money legally. Elon Musk's family. You name me one family that became a mega multimillionaire, the Roosevelts, that got their money legally.
But it's not that part of it. It's not that part of it. The part of it for me is you know what? It's just like in the United States, the things that went on in the 1800s set the foundation for what we're dealing with in 2022.
No, they
I
don't.
live in those other places. I don't know what those. I don't know.
One more minute on this because we got other things to go on. Any last words?
My last words are that if we're going to get to the bottom of it and put all dicks on the table, if America owes African Americans reparations, so does Africa, because they were complicit in the slave trade, and many of them got very, very wealthy. And I don't think that I'm crazy for asking for that. The reason that I brought it up in the middle of this whole Queen stuff was because I'm looking at the whole picture here, and everybody hypocritically were going and defending the actions of shit that went down in Africa too. It's like, bitches, my people wouldn't have even had this problem if y'all weren't so greedy. Greed has no color. Greed has no color. But since we're here, if Benin could have a conversation about it, which they did in 2018, and the article was called How We're Coming to Terms with Our Contribution to Slavery, then the rest of the world can too. And they owe us. They owe us money too, because we really got left with holding a sack of shit. And so if all these Commonwealth countries and everything are about to shift and change, then let's get on that good foot and deal with it. But right now, miss me with the problems of educated Africans who are able to be tenured and work all over the world and bloop-de-bloop and say crazy stuff in a country where my family members went to war and died for that freedom to say that about the Queen or anybody. So what are you doing here?
Again, like I said, it's not my place to tell someone else about their experience with colonialism in their country, because I don't appreciate it if somebody were to come here and to try to explain to us how
you are a
things
participant in colonialism. What aren't you getting, Aisha?
I'm not getting
in colonialism.
Of course we do. But
okay,
again,
so what are you
like I said, it's the same thing. I don't appreciate people coming to this country and telling Black people in this country
that is not the argument here.
Okay, we're gonna stop.
That's a safe choice in this conversation. That's not what this is about.
Okay,
no, it's not
at all.
It's not
to this country.
Okay, no, but it's not your choice, but it is my choice. It is my choice.
We're moving on. Next conversation piece. DOJ appeals special master ruling in 45 Mar-a-Lago probe. This was an interesting twist.
Well, it wasn't so much a twist. I think we expected them to do it. If they hadn't done it, it would have been like rolling over and playing dead. It's like, at this point, what are you even bringing the stuff to any kind of judge for if you're not going to follow it through? I think it was Glenn Kirshner who made this point on MSNBC, and it was a very good one. He's like, there are so many different investigations involving Donald Trump. It would be nice to see DOJ just see one through to the end, which the end is an arrest and a conviction. You know, they have so many open. It would be nice to just see one to go the distance and see the end. And on this one, this to me actually seems like it's the one that they can really get through all the legal hurdles, because there is no gray area here. It's very black and white. He did not own the property. He took it. He was not supposed to take it. And a lot of those things are only supposed to be viewed in a SCIF, which is, it's called a special compartment informational something facility. But yeah, a lot of those documents that he had are only supposed to be viewed in a skip. The person that brings them to you is supposed to have them handcuffed in a suitcase to bring to you. So you know that the chain there was a chain of command somewhere that was breached, and they have the most evidence of it in this case because they actually have the documents or the folders where the documents were supposed to be, and at least one of those we know has to do with France. So
Yeah.
I think that the to not appeal would have just it would have just been like yet another thing that he gets to just run the clock out on.
Yeah, I think so. I also, who had the video or sent it between all three of us of the boxes that were
That, I think it
being
was Dr.
moved?
Five.
I sent
Yeah.
I
that.
think that
What, so even in the midst of it all, could there possibly be more boxes? Is that what I'm to make of
well,
this?
that's what they're saying. They don't know what he took out. That's
Wow.
the whole thing. They don't know if there are more boxes because they don't know what he took out. One,
Right.
two, those empty folders. They don't know if he destroyed the information that was in it, sold it, or did what with it. So there's like 48 open empty questions, right? Like, where is the documents that go in
Horrible.
here? It
I
is
mean,
terrible.
where do
And
you start?
remember, they said that he was the one looking through them like the day before they came, specifically by
To take
himself.
it.
So
But
he
didn't
knows
they
a
have
lot more.
somebody who had to sign them out to him or no?
Well, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing that they were saying that I said that Glenn Kushner was saying was that they somewhere dropped the ball in terms of how they handled these documents
The
because
documents.
there's supposed to be a person with the highest of clearance who has these things handcuffed to them when
And
they show, and they're only supposed
clearly.
to show them in a secure facility, no cell phones, nothing else around. um like it's like an underground facility literally where like no one can bounce signals or anything in, and he did not do it that way. They said that I forgot who it was that said, I think it was Ty Cobb or whatever, said that he always just looked at these things in his office. But remember, I mentioned Kid Rock had said that he'd
Yeah.
seen those things. And who was it that remember Kyle Rittenhouse went to the White House to see Donald Trump too. He
Yeah.
probably had those things showing them off to him too. So he's not very selective about who he tells this information to. It's like
No.
it's like he does it like for high school, like it's high school. Like, hey, I got this. You should see this. I want to be popular.
It's just appalling, and I really don't even know what to say about him anymore. This creature, I really don't. And I really don't.
I usually make it sound like it was White House show and tell.
It was, yeah.
It basically
He's right.
was. That's all. Look, it was White House show and tell. And how did he protect himself? He appointed the judge. She was
Yes.
the last judge that he appointed.
Yes. Where did he
And
find her?
probably on the backside of a city advocate paper in the one ad.
But like,
I mean,
why her? Somebody must have recommended her.
she came through the Federalist Society. That's where they've been getting
Okay,
all
yeah.
those judges that he appointed. So she had come up for some other kind of appointment, and he didn't give it to her, but he gave it to her this time. And
Wow.
they were speculating that a lot of this had to do with him making sure he had judges at every a particular court, so that when things ran
It's
through for
very
him,
smart. That's very
yeah,
smart.
particularly in DC, that they would just print out the clock. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, was damn brilliant, actually, if you ask me. I was
It,
wondering, like,
it was.
he went in with that plan. They
But
knew
he
they
was
were up. They were up. They knew they were up to no good. So
the only
Bannon,
thing
of
that's going
course,
to
they
get him
all.
though are the state cases, because he appointed all federal judges. He didn't apply any state ones. So the state ones are the ones that he's going to get snagged up in Georgia. Georgia's going to be a big problem for him, bigger than New
Yeah.
York, because she's not playing. She's picking off everyone around him.
Fanny, do you believe that 35 people were raided the other day?
I know.
I don't know if it's true.
I just wanted to jump in for a second because both of you are on fire as usual, and Lala, you're missed tonight. But you asked about the judge, so let's see about the judge. So I'm going to read an article, a bit of an article from the Washington Post. Eileen M. Cannon was not yet 40 years old when the federal prosecutor, whose decisive bipartisan support in a bitterly divided U.S. Senate to claim her seat on the district court in South Florida, and what would be 45's final push to fill the federal bench with young conservative lawyers before leaving the White House. Her profile soared this week after she intervened in the Justice Department's investigation into 45's possible mishandling of classified information and agreed to grant his request for an independent review of the material that FBI agents have seized. So the courts are never politicized. 45 sought the appointment of what's known as a special master to assess whether the government took anything from his Florida resident that may be protected by current attorney-client privilege or his status as a former president.
Right, and they think that that's going to be her problem. That's going to be her problem. Was overreach. That, first of all, attorney-client privilege does not. It does not
translate.
It does not translate. And then also to the other part about
I'm going to jump back in here. She says, the article says, with less than 2 years on the bench, she does not have an extensive record to review. The 45 dispute has put spotlight on her while presenting untested questions about the extent to which assertions of executive privilege, usually invoked by sitting presidents to shield sensitive communications from disclosure, may be applied to past occupants of the White House in conflict with their successors. So she's only been on the bench for 2 years.
And executive privilege stays with the presidency, not the president.
Right.
So when you leave, you can't go back and say, hey, I'm claiming executive privilege over that. Which
because then people could go and murder people and be like, I have executive privilege. And but remember, that's what, so she's a moron. She's just a moron.
So what they're saying though is that she's likely going to pull back on all this stuff because they say that judges in that particular federal district court, the worst thing for them is to have a judge come behind them and say that their ruling was shit. And they're like, they've all but guaranteed that that's what's going to happen when a judge comes behind her. And so it'll make her basically what do they call it? They have special
clown.
Basically a clown judge that nobody will take her seriously.
And everybody will always appeal. Everyone will always appeal when they go to her, right?
Okay, so right, and her legacy will always be that she ruled on things that were not in her purview.
I'm just going to read a little bit more from the article. And Aisha, if you need to take a glass of water, please take it because that cough is not sounding good.
Yeah, hers sounds bad.
So just to read a little bit more from the article, Cannon's confirmation hearing took place 6 months into the coronavirus pandemic in July 2020, and she appeared before the Senate Judiciary Committee by Zoom. She had the backing of the Cuban American Bar Association, which praised her, quote, temperament and academic credentials, unquote, and pointed to her, quote, legal mind and demeanor, unquote. By choosing Cannon, the group told lawmakers, quote, you enhance the diversity on the bench and help appoint a great candidate for the position, unquote. In follow-up questions, Democrats pressed Cannon about her record as a prosecutor, her judicial philosophy, and her membership in the Federalist, the conservative organization that played a major role in advising 45 on his judicial picks. In response to Senator Cory Booker, Cannon said she considers herself an originalist, unquote, and a textualist, unquote, referring to methods of legal interpretation that took to the general understanding of the Constitution at the time it was written, an approach most associated with the late conservative Supreme Court Justice Anton Scalia.
Can I just interject something? I don't understand this. I'm an originalist, particularly from women who are working. If you're an originalist, your ass should be at home with your kids and making a ton of babies. Why are you here? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense. Like, how are you going to be an originalist and a
Right?
document that was written like how many 400 centuries ago?
Exactly.
It makes no sense because look, first of all, um, she is Latina, and
Yeah, that too. That too.
the
All
last
right.
part that I checked was that you know, you weren't even a
Sugarcane field.
consideration.
Sugarcane
You weren't,
field.
yeah, you weren't even a consideration when they wrote this. And that's what's absurd to me. But beyond that, when
It,
you
it's
read her, when you read her ruling,
audacity.
it is
Yes.
so unprofessional. It's like you could tell that she's been on the bench less than 2 years, right? Just by reading
And
her
she should have
interpretation.
never been put on any bench. If any bench, it would
It,
be the bench where you just don't play in anything. The only bench that she should be on is like the bench when a football team puts their people like, you're not playing
hell,
today.
she needs more practice. She needs more practice in a courtroom. She doesn't even know how to do courtroom decorum. I
Yeah, it's
mean,
pretty bad.
because even her judgment, it's like she tried to make it sound professional, but it's like, but wait, you just said that you gave yourself authority to do something you just said that you don't have the authority to do.
I mean, who are the clerks that work for her? Even they're idiots because they really, wow. I mean, what
Or
boneheads
they're very
strung those
smart and
words
they're just letting
together?
her look real stupid.
Yeah, but you couldn't even have that her. I mean, like how bad it like I'd be looking for a new job if I were clerking for her.
All right.
Oh my God. I wouldn't even be looking for a job in law after this.
That's true because it's pretty bad.
You better go to
Okay.
corporations or something.
Let's move on. Let's keep it flowing. Next up, Oath Keepers members lists includes military, law enforcement, and politicians. So, Aisha, can you just give a little background? What and who are the Oath Keepers?
Well, the Oath Keepers were one of those white supremacist groups that was at the January 6th invasion of the Capitol. Them, the Proud Boys. There really isn't much difference. I think the only difference I think with the Oath Keepers was that they had that little kerfuffle in what Washington State at one point, or was it Oregon at one point over the land. They because they considered them sovereign. They considered themselves sovereign. So, but the Oath Keepers, I was at first I was kind of I was shocked, and then I wasn't shocked when I heard this because remember back in the day, even in the current day, the Klan had these people are also were in the Klan. There's like the Klan had the judges, the police officers, the sheriffs, the lawyers, and the doctors were members of them too. Why are we surprised that these same people are members of yet another white supremacist group?
I mean, we still see activity from
You got
current.
to say on this one, Jill?
Yeah. I mean, we. Am I not muted?
No, you're not. You're okay.
Oh,
Listening.
like we have a problem with like who's the guy that's running in Pennsylvania? I mean, he totally is an
Eyes.
overthinker.
Oz.
And no, Mastriano, Doug Mastriano.
Okay,
The one
yeah.
running for governor.
He's the Q anonymous person, yeah, and he's wearing like Confederate suits and like it's so.
Yeah.
And then there was another woman the other day who came out and said the N word about people, and and they wanted her to give an apology, and it's like what? First of all, let's stop asking these people for their apologies. I mean,
Let
no,
them be
for
who they're
real.
being.
Let's just blow it up. Like she said
Yeah.
this is what she thinks. Journalists can sit there and do them in the debate and say, so you said that all these other candidates here are monkeys and chimpanzees. And then Doug Mastriano and his belief about we cannot keep going and asking people to validate our feelings. This is why if I'm coming across really harsh, victimization gets you nowhere. It really doesn't. There comes a point where you got to stop asking, can you please? That's not fair. They don't care if it's fair. They've told us that a long time ago. So let's just keep that moving. We know it's not fair. We know they're white supremacists. All I want is the list to be made public
Yeah.
with the actual names. That's all I want. And now, and to watch and see who's going to spend the money to stop that from happening. because I want to see what police officers it is. I think it's very, very important. And even if it's not public, there should be a chamber somewhere in our government where this is captured. But more importantly, I think it should be
In
leaked.
Southern,
If they could leak the Panama Papers, they can leak those people's fucking names, okay?
give the Southern Poverty Law Center another week. They'll have that information because they did mention one of those people who was wasn't he like a sheriff or something or
Yes.
running for something somewhere, and they did out his name.
Yes.
Um,
But we need to know. You need to know who's sleeping next to you. You just do, because it's
Back
so
in the day,
important.
back in the day, they didn't care if their names were leaked in the paper. They were happy
But
about it.
but in my
Nowadays,
small
look,
town, when people were wearing hoods and stuff, it's so weird. Like, I remember there were little things, nuances that gave people away from what my grandparents would talk about,
yeah,
shoes, different things like that. And
jewelry, the
it
way they
and
walked.
and they knew. So we've got to at least be given the advantage to find out who these people are. It's just not, and I'm sure they'll deny it and say it's not true, bloop-de bloop-de bloop, but then follow the money. All I'm saying is if the Panama Papers were shown, then, it's so weird. The other day I heard, I guess he was an ex-parliament guy who was talking about why the democracy in England he thought was better than what was happening in America. And this gentleman said, because in America, the worst state is that it's kind of set up to be like a circular reference. There's nothing finite. It's like going on Excel and you hit something, and that's why what happened to all of our laws being prosecuted or enforced? But it's all a circular reference, and attorneys have only made it worse in America.
Well, you know what? If we want to know who all these people are, they only got to tell Donald Trump.
Well, he stole their money.
Donald Trump will tell everybody. He'll throw the papers in his drawer.
But didn't he steal their money, the 250 million? Plus he stole it. Stole their money.
Yeah, he stole their money. But remember, he had Steve Bannon do it. So Donald Trump is like, hands clean, not going to jail on this one.
That's
Steve Bannon, sorry, you're being arrested for it. But hey, you have my moral support. That's the only thing Donald Trump can give is his moral support from far away.
That's true.
Here, nice to see you, Jill. You are so well informed. Garfield Harrison.
I was actually thinking I need to stop doing this because I am so angry most of the time, and it's starting to really wear on me because I really don't have much faith in human beings and people. I think they're horrible. And I really do mean it when I say we have to find a way to come together. And the only way you can usually resolve any argument with anyone is by both looking at what you've done and what you're contributing to. It's really the only way to move forward. We can't hang around in the past like this. It's our future is passing us by, and we've lost track of it, and we won't have one. Our children will not have a future. And it's just, people need to start being accountable and looking at themselves before pointing fingers at everybody else, because the hate and the energy, it's just disgusting. And the capitalism, and it's like consumers and capitalists sitting up here talking about colonialism for me is like, it's just like you couldn't even, it's ironic. It's fucking hilarious. Make it a new name, but the behavior is still all the same. Everything that we have here in America that we have prided ourselves and been fortunate enough to have has been at the expense of another human being's life. Just let that sink in. Everything we've done. Anything that the Queen and all of them, someone was like, oh, they invaded every country and whatever. Now we have the most hateful people, again, just being virulent and just violent in their conversation about everybody. And there are politicians and leaders. You know, we will never see the light of day. We'll see plenty of darkness, though.
I got to
Yeah,
jump in quickly.
this thing
Did we
about
talk about the arrest of Steve Bannon? I don't think we did.
You skipped
no,
him.
you skipped
Okay,
I
it.
so
saw you skip right through him.
yeah,
I was
Yeah, me
yeah.
like,
too.
So let's talk about Mr.
the perp
Bannon.
walk. Come on, Aisha, describe it. Give us that image.
Okay, you know what? I think that he's coming for he's trying to come for some kind of insanity defense, because what was it that he was saying at the end? Like, they will not keep me, or they will who's this mysterious they?
Was that when he was
He
out on the
sounded
steps?
crazy like a fox. So
When
he
he was
sounded
on the
crazy like a fox.
steps, he was really getting very
Yeah.
frustrated with whoever the woman was that was yelling and screaming at him and calling him a con man and a dirt bag and everything. It
But no,
really
I mean,
got to him. He
was
was
that
shook.
when
you?
he left,
Yeah.
No, was that you? I'm just asking.
Aisha, it was her. She drove down that day.
Oh, okay,
no,
all right.
no,
So,
but when he left, it was like when he left, he was talking of all this crazy stuff like, I will not be silent, and it's like, what?
I
You
know,
sound
and
it's like
it's
you
true.
sound like you're trying to set up some kind of defense, and I don't believe you, because you swindled these people out of their money. Not only
Terrible.
that, but I mean, it didn't take a whole lot to take this money from people. Okay, first of all, I mean,
No.
he leaned right into their prejudices. It's like, remember, because at first he was on GoFundMe with this other guy, and they had got like $300 million, and then they had to give that back, and then he set up a PAC to do it.
Oh, right.
It's
That's
like
true.
it's
Wasn't he
like
with
it's
the
like
Chinese billionaire on a boat?
yeah, he
Right.
was this was so corrupt, and the only reason that Donald Trump is not saying much about this particular thing is because he needs for his supporters to be mad at somebody that's
Yeah.
not him.
The old
And so
rope a dope.
If they're mad at Steve Bannon for not for like taking their money, they have money that has someplace it has to go. So might as well go to him, right?
Yeah.
Because remember,
It's
they're still paying for his legal bills. Remember, the RNC said we're not paying for your legal bills anymore because of this whole thing with the document. But Trump still runs his PAC, and people still donate monthly,
but didn't
weekly,
they say
and
Rick Johnson spent all the money? Rick, what is it? Rick, what's his name from Florida? Rick Scott.
Rick
Didn't they say he
Scott.
spent all
Rick,
the money?
no, not out of that, not out of Trump's personal PAC. There's
Okay.
another PAC that Rick Scott has depleted, and that's the PAC that goes to like the RTC or something like that.
Yeah,
But
they don't have
it's one
enough
of
for campaign
right.
ads.
They don't have enough for campaign, and part of that is because he put the money behind really bad candidates to begin with. They when it came out, he put most of the money behind JD Vance, Oz, and Herschel Walker, and that's why Mitch McConnell came out and was like, we've got really bad candidates. So his whole pot of money is from a different source, but Trump still runs his PAC. People still donate to Trump's PAC like regularly, and the sad part is that they know all this other stuff has gone on. They know at this point they're just paying his legal bills, and they are okay with that because they are hoping that he is going to run. And Trump is basically putting himself in a position where he has no other choice but to run. If this Justice Department um does hold to that part about not indicting a sitting president, that's cool because Trump is not sitting. However, if they do what William Barr's Justice Department did, and they decide that they're not going to investigate anything while he's a candidate, I have some serious problems.
Yeah, but they know
And
now that they're kind of trailing, and they didn't really want Donald Trump to run again.
they
But
really don't.
now
No,
they
they
kind of
don't.
have no choice. It's coming down to he might be their only hope because there are
He's the one with all the
idiots.
money.
Yep, and here there are idiots in this country that still support that goof. a
75
real,
million. I mean,
Well, it's interesting because I saw a report on NPR this week. They did a poll, and they said they polled independent voters.
mhm.
And they said 75% of them do not want him to run again.
Well,
but
let's
here's
see
the
what
thing
they
about
actually
independent
do.
voters is that people assume that the independent voters will always vote Republican, and that's not necessarily true because the independent voters were really incensed about this Dobbs decision
But can I
with
say
the
something
voting.
else about them? You're
Mhm.
right, but I think that the majority of independent people that I've met, independent, a lot of them are a little bit tight-lipped, and they're concerned a lot with how they're viewed in the world, and
Yeah.
and they don't want people to know who they vote for. These
Yep.
independents. So I don't trust them because I feel like at this point in this day and age, if you can't be upright, hook, line, and sinker about who you think is best for our democracy, then I'm going to look at you sideways and with a side eye because I'm thinking, independent voters have an attitude. They're above it all. They're too good to be in a group. And they make rational decisions based upon what's out there. They haven't found anything that suits them. And then those people will go behind and fuck you down so fast.
Well, think
Trust
about it
me,
this way,
because
though.
they are voting selfishly. It doesn't take me a long time to go, I'm going to vote for my fellow man in this situation. I think, we need to work this out, X, Y, and Z. But independent voters kind of, remember I told you guys I signed up? Well, I signed back again. All the independents,
Yeah.
when I started voting for their people, I ended up with that bullshit with that who's the DA that we tried to recall and couldn't do it. So angry
Yeah.
about that.
And think about it too. A lot of people who are claiming independent status now are dejected Republicans who are not MAGA,
Yeah, they
but they
care too
still are
much what other
Republican,
people think to say
right?
what
And
they're going to
they're
do.
still Republican. They're still Republican, and if it weren't for these MAGA people, would be 100% Republican down the line. They're only claiming to be independent now because they don't want to be affiliated with the MAGA people. But other than that, they're Republican.
It's to me, the GOP is like a liver that has cirrhosis, and the independent voters are the ones that go, can we just take a little sliver out of here and make myself I'm not like them
Yeah.
anymore? When the whole thing is corroded, and they'll go and vote all the way down the line GOP, except for the main head, which is the president or their senators. So for me, they actually do more damage than good because they are
Yeah.
willing to look at the cirrhosis and the cancer of their party and overlook that it's actually a dead piece of it's just metastasized, and that they're going to try to carve out a special section. Go fuck yourselves,
Well, you know
independents.
the funny
Make up your
part about
mind.
that. Well, the funny part about that is
And we
that
have to kiss their ass too. See, I'm so tired of kissing people's asses. That's my weekly day thing. Okay, I guess you guys have figured it out.
no, but the funny part about all that is that these are the same people who are like, oh yeah, the election was rigged. But wait a second. But if all you all won,
Mm.
how was it rigged? See, you can't have it both ways. It can't have been rigged just with the presidential part because guess what? It was all the same ballot.
Girl,
So
these people have two starches on their dinner plate. They do have it both ways. It's crazy. They, they,
Did you actually say that?
I did.
Okay.
look,
All right.
no,
Macaroni and
let me
cheese and
tell you something.
potatoes,
No, let me
Okay.
tell you something. A good friend of mine, when my mother used to work late and my sisters and I had to cook for ourselves, a good friend of mine, she's passed away now. But when we were teenagers, used to come over and be like, "Are you guys just having two starches for dinner?"
Oh, no.
Because that's all we knew how to cook at the time.
Oh, yeah, that's rough.
She's like,
It's
she's like,
rough.
I see nothing but sides here. Nothing but
Yeah, it's
sides.
tough. I know.
Let's move on. Mac and cheese, please. All right, let's move
Yes.
on. Let's move on. Next up, Michigan puts abortion rights on the ballot.
Mm.
Now, Michigan is one of those states where they've got Republicans in like a lot of the high offices, but the people, and those people, let me put it this way, those Republicans in those high offices tried to do a runaround about putting the abortion rights on the ballot. They tried to not put it on the ballot, but the people went and they got enough signatures to get it on the ballot. So this is what states are going to have to do if they're until we figure out what to do with this Roe decision. States are going to have to go and put protections in. I know my state did. Ours is considered one of the best written protections of Roe and abortion rights in the country. But we saw what happened in Kansas the last time. But what other state is doing it too? South Carolina. They just they just narrowly voted to not um, totally have a total restriction on abortion, and that's because there were five Republicans who did not vote for that, and their reasoning is because wait a second, you don't want to do anything that protects the life of the mother, et cetera, et cetera. And one of them came out and said that she had a real problem with that because what about the children that are already existing for that mother and she dies? You've uprooted their lives as well. So it's not just about this one person making one decision in isolation. So that's what's going to have to happen.
So Aisha, let me interject here. I'm from Canada, and I
Mm-hmm.
try to keep a little bit of an understanding. So the Supreme Court pushed back Roe versus Wade. So you're saying that the states can override that?
No, and this is what I say this almost every week that we come on. We're like the only country like this. We have federal laws, but then every state has its own laws. So if what they did when they did with the Dobbs decision in Mississippi, basically it wasn't so much that it overturned Roe, which Roe basically said that everyone has the right to it and that the federal government would oversee and ensure that right. What they did here was this Dobbs decision, the state of Mississippi sued the federal government and said that the state should be able to determine for itself
Michigan.
whether or not it's going to have abortion
So
as
so
a legal service.
okay. So thank you for the clarity. One of the things that I know just came up in my alleged mind. What are the first few words of the Constitution? We the
Hmm.
people. So we the people are going to get a chance to decide.
Right. And that's that's what's happening with these states that are putting it on the ballot. They're letting the people are deciding. But the road to getting it on the ballot is the part that now that they realize this is something that could happen, you have all of these um, Republican state governments trying to step in or change the laws on as to how those things get on the ballot. And
Jill, you're
that was the case in Michigan that they tried to do. That the people in Michigan were like, no, you're not going to pull this fast one on us.
Jill, your thoughts.
Well, it's been quite, Michigan is definitely a state. I'm so impressed by the women who are in charge there.
Yeah,
I just look at them and go, wow, they're really holding it down. The attorney general, the governor, and boy, they're pretty fierce. Someone,
The governor whose life
yes.
was threatened.
I mean, like,
yeah,
I
and
see
they're all
them
up
as
for
like,
re-election this year.
yeah, and they're pretty like formidable opponents, and I really hope that Michigan supports them. Otherwise, it is really going to be very dangerous what comes down the pipeline, because I've never seen such a unity with these women. They've got it. Like, they really, um, what is the word? Unity and I don't know, their defense. It's I'll think of it in a minute, but I'm impressed by them. They are they Michigan in itself has just been fighting since like before COVID, and
Right.
we've got to give them as much support as we can. I did see some really cool T-shirts that are going row, 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 like row, row, row your boat,
Yeah.
and row, 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 and then vote. And I'll next time I'll find that link, and maybe we should all just make sure we start like wearing things to just get into the heads of our adversaries. It's really
Yeah,
it's powerful to be a walking billboard, and word of mouth. It really
yeah,
is.
it is. And I'll be honest with you. Here's the thing. Michiganders, you have to listen. You need to vote for these women because if you do not, your state will end up looking like Ohio. Remember,
Yeah,
Ohio used to be a
awful.
swing state like Michigan and used to have a really good Democratic governor and all these other people in state offices and do not anymore.
Yeah.
Now, the only person that's at a statewide position is Sherrod Brown
Mm,
in
yeah.
Ohio. He's the only one, and that's why Tim Ryan is working really hard to be JD Vance there. But honestly,
And
honestly,
I do
if
like
you're
Nina
in
Turner,
Michigan,
but she's not
mm,
running just because Nina's just out. She says what she says, and I appreciate that.
I
Not
was
always
it.
I
but if
agree,
You know,
you
was
know.
the
but if
word
you're
you're
in
looking for
Michigan,
solidarity?
vote
Yes,
yes,
it is the solidarity, and I can't get
yeah,
over in my head how during COVID they were terrorizing the AG's family and her kids were home. And for
yeah.
me, you see, it's just unacceptable.
And
But
and
I
you know
loved that they had. I probably don't think. I think it would have been a bit different situation if it had been me.
and you know
So
what? I
I
have to say this
respect
though
them.
about those women that are running. This is how women are able to make sure other women and bring other women up with them
Along,
when they
yeah,
run for offices. And that's why Emily's List is so good at how they run their female candidates. And Emily's List does support all three of those candidates in Michigan.
yeah.
But Michigan did this, and they did this in their state offices at one point too, um, where you had someone who was a city council woman who was leaving her seat, but brought someone up behind her and supported that person's candidate. I mean, supported that candidate, ran for a state ran for a state house seat, and then when she moved on to the Senate seat, brought that councilwoman up as a House member, and that councilwoman reached back and brought someone else up in a councilwoman's seat because they wanted to make sure that those seats remain Democratic. And that's how the Republican Party runs their races. That's how you want to know how those seats stay Republican because they reach back and they do that and they have that solidarity. And Democrats are finally starting to get that message.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about, I think we can win this.
Yeah,
And
it's a beautiful thing to see.
more importantly, I just feel like we're at the time where our behaviors have to speak more for we have to put that out there when we see them. That's why I was told you guys I'm all about shunning, because if there's 75 million still Trump supporters or people who have that mentality, that means that of us, those who voted for Joe Biden or whatever, we all have some relatives that are not kosher somewhere in our or somewhere out of these people. So there are some big decisions, and we could really impact a change if we just stop talking to many of them in our
Yeah,
lives.
and honestly, if your state is not doing what Michigan is doing, remember
Hmm.
there's an election in your state every year. Every year there's an election. So
Right.
if it's not on this one, you better make sure you get it, you know, on the ballot come January for the November election of 2023 because there will be one. Um, and just because until we are in a position again where we have a Supreme Court that is not an activist court like this one, um, then we're we're gonna have to do it state by state.
I, I know what the word was. It was unity and concord. So you have a situation where they were all in harmony of their feelings and
Right.
what their mission and where they are. So it is solidarity too, but then the concord feels like the stronger word, because we all in the Democratic Party, or all what we're about to undertake, there has to be some kind of unity and concord going forward. And we might, some of us might have to sacrifice some of those feelings a little bit, and find the things that we all do agree on to move forward. But
Yeah.
yeah, we've got to get out of this dirt and this mudslinging. It's just weighing us down, and we really do
And not
have to be
only
above
that,
it. We
and
are
not
the
only
better
that,
people. Come
well, not
on.
only that, but we also need to this election be single issues voters.
Oh my God. Did you guys see Marjorie Taylor Greene's video where
Yeah,
she auditioned for
I
American
did.
Idol?
I did.
So when I talked the other day and I said there was a talent group that the little scuzz who had to do couldn't pass the GED 4 or 5 times. The one who has a
Over.
bar, and her husband who is whatever, they all belong to that Israeli talent company. So this is like, it really should shock people. These are actors. They'll be anything you want them to be. That's why I always say, play Misty for me. They'll be whatever you want them to be. It's all about the money.
I mean, and it starts from Trump, because remember
It
Trump,
does.
Trump was a Democrat at one point. Was one of the
Marsha
Oh
biggest
my
Blackburn.
donors.
goodness.
Marsha Blackburn.
I was I
play
if it
Misty
if it
for me.
if it didn't get blocked, I'd pay the theme for that movie. So I'm gonna leave it out. But all right, so family, we're gonna end off
Okay.
with a little bit of I think Jill and Aisha wanted to end off on this note. So the Obama portraits are in the White House.
Gorgeous. Beautiful.
Mind you, this was supposed to happen some 4 years ago,
Yeah.
right? But I have to say this. Okay, Donald Trump didn't want to do it, but guess what? The Obamas didn't want to do it with him either.
So one of the feelings mutual.
So the feelings were
Oh my
mutual,
God. So lovely.
right?
I love the color palette that
Aren't they? Aren't they?
yes.
Yeah, aren't they great?
Yes. And he wanted to have it where it was almost like a portrait, like a photograph, because he
Yeah.
wanted people to see him with flaws and all. So I thought that was quite nice. Of course, I love the red and the pink and the blue. It's just so pretty for her.
I mean, think
And
about all the other ones that are there, right?
mhm.
And then you have this, then you have these ones, and these are just, first of all, the people in them are unlike any of the other people to the
True.
point. But then they are just such artistic photographs. I mean, such artistic paintings that, like, I mean, they speak to a new generation.
I'm sorry to put a bit of a concerning point on this, but
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
there is another insurrection, they're coming for these
Yes,
things.
they are, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, yeah.
For sure.
Which is why I think that these are in the White House, first of all, so they're not in the Capitol building.
I
But
heard that the paint is poisonous, though, to anyone who touches it.
yeah, they put some serious securities on those paintings.
Yeah.
Like
So
because they said that the Trumps tried to take one of the other ones at some point, like Jefferson or something like that, and they ran into a little obstacle.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, if a certain former president gets elected back in the White House, where do you think these will be? Do you think you'll allow them on the prop?
Oh, he'll put them in the basement like he did with George W. Bush.
I think he should let people come and take their pictures and leave if they want them. I mean, I don't think he's going to get back in, but I could be wrong. I think the other thing that we do have to, it's a blessing. I love that Jill and Joe Biden did this. You could see the love between all of them in that presentation. Jill, I love just matter of factly. And what the part I loved the best was she goes, okay, let's go to the reception and eat, which I really, really just found her to be really charming. And I really do believe that she was close friends with them. And Joe was sitting down when her husband was, everyone was standing up. And it was true. It's like, husbands do things like that. And you're like, well, we've been married 50 years and you are sitting down and everybody's standing up. So I thought it was very cute. I like that, just some kind of normal decorum. I love, it's very important to have. I think that what happened with Trump in the White House, we lost all sense of decency and decorum across the board. And it's reflected on our social media, all of it. It's just gross. It really is just, we really have to think of ourselves as better human beings than to do the stuff that we've been doing, and myself included. Like I said, as Michael Jackson said, I'm starting with the man in the mirror. And on my last note, I want to say tomorrow's 9/11. So
yes,
let's not forget, ever forget, because we are still dealing with the Saudis and their jealousy of our country. And that never got resolved enough, in my opinion, either. Ever.
Okay. Any last words, Aisha?
There was something I was going to say, and I totally forgot. It was something earlier I meant to mention, but I can't remember.
Well, that's no problem at all. Well, look, we want to say thank you, even though you did not have any video.
Yeah, thanks.
to join us, all of us this evening, because we didn't want Jill to be on her own with me, and plus I'm really boring. So just you two, and especially after the first 40 minutes of this conversation, that's why you need to be here, family. Because even though Aisha and Jill have love, they can disagree at times.
Yeah, that was very tough.
But you know what? They're a good example of what we want things to be. That you can disagree respectfully.
My mom has COVID.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's why I was like, yeah. So I have not. I've stayed away.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You don't sound good though. You've been coughing and sneezing and spitting the whole show.
No, it's allergies. Though. It's allergies.
Okay.
Whenever it rains like this, yeah.
Well, this is what we call the end of the epic conversation, and as always, we like our stars to give out their contact information. So, we go first to Jill Jones.
Jill D. Jones at Twitter and Jill Jones Music at Instagram.
There you go. Aisha, though you can't see her, you hear her. Go ahead, Aisha.
I'm at Aisha Staggers on Twitter, but I've been poisoning myself on social media a bit lately. So I'll have my spurts where I'll be on and I'll pay attention for a little while, and then I kind of step back.
Okay, more than fair. And myself, these are all the different places: website, email, YouTube and Facebook, the Dr. Vibe Show on Twitter and Instagram. And definitely, please reach out to me if you have any show idea, conversation ideas. Like at the beginning of our conversation, would you like us to pick a specific topic and chat about it for like an hour? So and if you give us to us early enough, we can do some research and really dig in on it. So always like to thank everyone who catches us live on the replay. It's appreciated, not taken for granted. Also, too, I'm going to throw it out there. If you'd like to be a sponsor on this platform, please get in touch with me. You can catch State of Things live on Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook page. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook page, also on the website, and also you can catch it on LinkedIn. I had to mention that, catch on LinkedIn. So this is how we're getting off our conversations always. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourselves grace. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. We're done. Catch you soon. Stay safe and What good?